Good morning and welcome everyone to this, the third webisode in our network slicing webinar series. I'm Brendan Tully-Walsh, Head of Marketing for CloudStreet, and I'm very pleased to be joined by our keynote speaker, CloudStreet founder and CTO, Mika Skarp. Welcome, Mika. Mika comes to us following nearly 2 decades of work pioneering innovative telecom business models, an executive engineer at Nokia, both in Finland and later in Silicon Valley. Mika was the founding president of the WiMAX Forum, a consortium of companies and business leaders focused on supporting and promoting the standard. While at Nokia, he headed up Village Connection, a novel program dedicated to expanding wireless coverage in remote regions in the developing world. Our webinar today will run for approximately 30 minutes, and we'll be posting it on YouTube for anyone who missed it. So please feel free to share it with anyone you think might be interested in it. Before I hand over the mic to Mika, I want to spend just a minute to set up the theme that we're focusing on today. Network slicing has certainly become the buzz phrase of choice in telecom circles, but are the questions being asked around the water cooler being answered? How can it be monetized? And how, in the increasingly complex ecosystem in which carriers control the water supply, can network slicing be understood from a business perspective across dozens of verticals and hundreds of use cases? While much of the focus on the emerging standard has been spent deep in the weeds of how it might be deployed, there's been relatively little examination of the DNA of its business model. So in this, our third and final installment of our network slicing webinar series, we'll take the 30,000-foot view of this opportunity with a deep dive into each of its 3 core business models. And with that, I hand over the mic to Mika.
Thank you, Brendan, for the nice introduction. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Mika Skarp. I'm the founder and CTO of CloudStreet. And this is our third part of this webinar series of network slicing. And here in the beginning, we will cover a little bit of the technical part and then the different use case opportunities, and then focus on the different business models that what we have. But where are we coming from? What's the CloudStreet all about? We are actually a Nokia spin-off company. We studied network slicing already 3 years ago with the Finnish broadcasters. So we have provided dedicated capacity for TV production companies already 3 years. That will make us the first company doing commercial network slicing in the world. Our product is called Dynamic Profile Controller, DPC. It's a piece of software that is fully virtualized, and it's utilizing the software-defined network principles and the possibilities in mobile networks. It's a piece of software that can actually deliver end-to-end network slicing in LTE networks, and then in the future also the 5G networks. That will enable mobile operators to provide SLA-assured connections from their existing networks. As said, this is something that is on the market today, so it's something that can be start utilizing today. And the reason why operators should take a look at the opportunity already today and not wait for the 5G is because of these different new business models. So the change in technology is not that huge, but the opportunity on the business side is actually really disruptive, and that we will focus just in the second. But before jumping to the conclusions, so first of all, why do we need network slicing? This picture illustrates the situation today. So we have thousands or millions of applications using the network. Every application has a different requirements for the network, but actually the network is serving every single application the same way. This has technical implications, but more than that, it has also the business implications. Even so that we have the different applications, they have a different value. We are not able to monetize them differently. So for example, if we connect a heart rate monitor into the mobile network, the data itself is much more valuable than, let's say, watching a cat video from YouTube. And this is something what we want to change. And in our world, we have three different classes. We have the best effort class, that's the synchronization traffic. So synchronizing emails or Facebook accounts, Twitter accounts, there it really doesn't matter if the synchronization happened second ago or 20 seconds ago, 30 seconds ago. It's important that there is capacity, but the delay and the capacity fluctuation, it's not that interesting, and it's not impacting the customer's quality of experience. Then we have a capacity sensitive traffic where the certain amount of capacity needs to go through the network in a given time. So there, the good example is video. So basically how the system works is that when we start downloading a video, we are buffering it a little bit, and that buffer will actually get rid of the jitter. So the certain amount of capacity needs to go through the network in a given time, but there is a delay variation is allowed. Then the third category is a delay sensitive traffic that the delay variation is not allowed at all. Typical example is a voice connection or this kind of a webinar and so on. We think that these categories are really universal, that in any network we see these kind of traffic classes. And now in the mobile network, what we want to do is that we want to configure the network dynamically for these different capacity classes. Inside of one capacity class, you still have a different subclasses. So like, can have a 1 megabit connection, a 5 megabit connection. There can be symmetric connections or uplink heavy or downlink heavy connections, but still fundamentally they belong in one of these three classes. So that's the reason why the network slicing is needed. And how we are actually doing it is that, as said, we have the dynamic profile controller DPC. And DPC, it's providing the network slice, and the process starts from the slice request. So there is some kind of an indication, we are calling it a trigger, that somebody does something, we are recognizing something and creating a slice request. We have an open northbound API that is designed for these slice requests. It can come from the application, mobile app, from the network itself. It's coming from somewhere. And the first thing what we do to that the request is that we need to make sure that the request is valid, so that a user who is making the request has an authority to do so, that the time might be correct, the location might be limiting, or in some cases the RF level. So for example, if you are a TV crew and you want to broadcast, let's say 10 megabits per second, it requires a fairly good uplink RF level to do so. So with these kind of parameters, we can authorize the request. Then when that's done, we need to make sure that the network is capable of handling, honoring the request. So we can either say that, okay, yes, you will have your access to the slice, or we say that no, there is no room in the slice, so you are not given the service. We can also orchestrate, so that if we have 10 users in the slice and we want to make room for the one more, so we can reduce the capacity, or going to the advanced models, we can move users from one network to another or from one cell to another. When that's done, the service will be delivered. In the LTE case, we are using the QCI classes. So basically, we have a dedicated bearer that will have a QCI class that is designed for that service. And the QCI class will then impact to the eNode B scheduling and the IP transport prioritization of packages. So that's done, and then the usage of the dedicated bearer can be several. So it can be, for example, IPTV, or it can be voice over IP, public safety, and and so on. And as said earlier, it can be for the downlink or uplink. It can be asymmetric or symmetric. But this is the way that you can actually create an SLA for any connection. So there needs to be an admission control for those requests that are coming in. And this is the fundamental change how the mobile networks are working today. But more couple of words about the use cases, what we have experiment, what can we say where it makes sense. So the fixed wireless is the very first one that comes to mind. So there is no fiber everywhere, but still we would like to provide stable connections and especially good uplink for the homes and small and medium enterprises. So there, using the wireless technology makes sense. When you have that system in place, you can then sell additional services like IPTV or virtual meeting services, some SAP or VPNs, and so on. IoT is very interesting as well. So there, in those kind of cases where you use a video or something that you are controlling machines based on some sensor data, so that needs to be very secure. Broadcasting we mentioned already, so replacing the satellite connections by LTE. Telemedicine is probably the biggest opportunity where the patient can stay at home when monitored by hospital. Machine to machine security, smart city, drones, autonomous cars, public safety, and so on. So there are several verticals, hundreds of use cases where dedicated capacity can improve the customer experience and create new business opportunities. So now we jump to the actual beef of this presentation, this webinar. So the business model today in the mobile network is basically that you are providing access to the network. And the access to the network then gives you some data connectivity. There might be then some data caps that you are allowed to consume 1 gigabyte or 10 gigabytes data in some time. Now with these different service levels that what we can do with network slicing, we are actually introducing 3 different models that can be done. So the first one is the slice as a service. So basically what you are doing is that you are providing a customer an opportunity to change the network settings per their need. So it's a fairly close what we are doing today, but obviously different settings, they have a different price points. So for example, when I'm using my handset for virtual meeting, I will use a higher QCI class than when I'm using it for net surfing or synchronizing my emails. Obviously, that can be done manually, or these services can be put into the applications themselves, but the business model is such that the end user is paying something extra when using a different service level in the network. The second model is that you are actually partnering with an OTT player. So for example, that when you are watching Netflix, the Netflix application is changing the network settings, and the Netflix is paying something for that service. So there, from the customer perspective, there is no difference. They are still paying the fee to the mobile operator, and they are paying fee to the Netflix, but Netflix is paying something for the mobile operator to increase their customer quality of experience. We have evidence that OTT companies are willing to do this, and we are actually working with a couple of them to make this a reality. The third and definitely the most profitable, the biggest opportunity is to go native. So instead of providing only the capacity for the users, we actually provide a service. So for example, we can provide an IPTV service, or theoretically we could provide also a healthcare service. So there the capacity is the baseline, and then the actual service is put on top of it. There, as I said, there are hundreds of different opportunities, so it's not possible for any company to do all of them, but they have to be selected that what to go after, or should I go after of any of them. But let's dig into a little bit more that what kind of parameters we can actually there see there. So smart pipe, open API call. There is a service differentiator thing that what kind of a service and how do we differentiate. What is the segment? So here it's most likely something like a business-to-business segment that really makes sense. And this kind of a service we can also make static, so that it's only for the certain users. Here, though, the net neutrality will be really much of a problem, but in those kind of markets where the static slicing is possible, can be done. And it's something that we can do today already in LTE network. And here really the idea is that it's a smart pipe, so that it's a consumer who will actually select what kind of a slice is used, what kind of settings are used in that time. And as said, it can be integrated with the apps itself, so that it doesn't need to create some action from the user. Then moving forward, the OTT brand. So here it's really about partnering with the OTT player, and it will require actually quite a lot of negotiation. So it's not that easy to do, but can be done. And as I said earlier, if we have an evidence that OTT players are willing to consider this kind of opportunity. Here as well, the net neutrality is a question mark, because that you have to provide the same opportunities for everyone. And we have actually tackled this the way that we have an SDK available, that how do you connect your application to the DPC. So we have tried to make it as easy as possible for OTT players to integrate the service request capability into their application. Very, very interesting model. Not that easy to do, but definitely if it scales up, it's a very good opportunity. Go native. This is something what we have seen in basically on every market, that mobile operators and operators in general, they have actually look at the TV business, and they have launched their own services. But you don't have to focus only in the entertainment side. There are opportunities, as I said, healthcare might be interesting, security. Then when going to the logistics side, so the drones and the cars, autonomous vehicles in general, I think those are the opportunities. It will be require a lot of R&D effort from the operators, whoever is going, and doesn't matter what is the application that is gone after. It requires a huge investments to that. But then on the other hand, the revenues that the services can generate are also huge. There are opportunities on the B2C side and B2B side, but have to be very careful when considering where to go, because you can't go everywhere. And it might also be the case that the previous OTT might be actually an better opportunity. But those are the three basic models that can be used. That's where I will stop today. And here are our contact information, and I will hand over back to Brendan.
Thanks very much, Mika, and thank you all for joining us today for this webinar. We've noticed that some attendees came in later, and we wanted to remind you that in case you missed the beginning, we're going to provide a link to the recorded version to you via email. Also, as mentioned, all attendees will be sent our recently published white paper, The User-Defined Network Slicing in Practice. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to contact me or Mika. Mika's email is on the board there, mika.scarp@cloudstreet.co. And if you're interested in learning about how CloudStreet can help you integrate network slicing into your network and discuss possible use cases and/or proofs of concept, we'd be more than happy to set up a face-to-face meeting with you. And we wish you all the best. Thank you.